is that municipalities are seeing any significant damages. We don't have any reports of significant damages at this time. We're here to assist any city or town that needs assistance, and they do that through their local emergency management director, then lets our regional coordinator know, and it comes up to the EOC if they need something. We have had none of those requests at this time. We've been in touch with the utilities who are surveying their lines to make sure that they're all intact. They have not reported anything back to us yet with that regard. Millstone is following its normal procedures after an earthquake. They're operating at 100% power, and they see no life safety issues at this time. The State Department of Administrative Services is surveying state buildings. We've had no report of significant damage, but we are monitoring and making sure that that's the case. The DOT has no reported concerns from their field, but nonetheless, in an abundance of caution, they are doing visual inspections of bridges and critical bridge infrastructure, just to make sure, and they're not hearing anything from the field at this time. Amtrak and Metro North is running. They do have some slowdowns in certain areas as they check the tracks, but again, service is continuing. It may just be a little slow in some areas because, as we know, this happened in New Jersey, so it's affected New Jersey, New York, and parts of Connecticut. And then finally, Bradley International Airport was in a bit of a pause for a little while airport staff and Connecticut State Police did an inspection to make sure that the facility was okay, and they are back and running. So with that, we can take any questions, but that's our report. We're monitoring. We are not seeing any significant damage, but we are in partial activation and continuing to work with our state, local, federal, and private sector partners on making sure that everyone is safe and sound.
In regards to bridges, how do you prioritize? Because obviously we have a lot of bridges in Connecticut. How do you prioritize? Is it by traffic, by age, by condition, to check maybe the ones you're most concerned about first?
So that's the Department of Transportation, and they have a system in place where they know, bridges that get the most traffic, bridges that they want to keep an eye on, and those are the ones that they are reviewing first.
You said no significant damage. Has there been any type of damage?
The only thing that I've heard personally so far, and it's been anecdotal, are, some people may see a little bit of cracking in certain places, but we have not heard of anything structural at this time. But that's why we are still in partial activation and continuing to monitor, just to make sure that there are no significant issues.
Are people supposed to call somewhere specific?
So we have a system in place within emergency management that if an individual has some concerns about their home, they contact their local emergency management director, and that person will contact our regional coordinator, and they will let us know at the EOC if it looks like it's a significant event.
Talk a little bit about being prepared for the possibility of aftershocks as you're also doing this. Is there personnel that will be on standby at least through the evening?
That's a great question. So our regional offices are on call 24/7, and we have other staff that's on call as well, including Josh Singranelli, who is both the Region 3 coordinator and also one of our star meteorologists helping us through the system. So the towns know that if they have something day or night, they can call their regional coordinator, including on issues related to aftershocks.
I know you said you're not hearing any issues from towns. Are you giving them any guidance on, reminding them to check, say, old buildings? There's obviously a lot of old stone buildings around the state. What kind of guidance are you giving them on the things you want them to check? So
the regional coordinators have reached out and polled their towns, and we have information on our website, which is ct.gov/DEMIS, and there's a section on earthquakes that has information on checklists and things to be concerned about. Is there anything you want to add to that, Josh?
The only thing I would add is, I know a lot of people are at work and school. So as you get home, certainly do a quick evaluation of your home, your structure. And if you notice any of those cracks, we want you to report those to your emergency management director within your municipality.
Do you feel like this is a good, example of the system working? Have all the parts been moving correctly thus far since this happened this morning?
That's a great question. So we exercise frequently, and we've just been through a very long activation during COVID. So these quote unquote smaller events that give us a chance with no notice to pull together and operate our system under the state response framework are great opportunities for us to practice, to get new folks engaged who haven't been, here before. So yes, it's it's building a positive from a potentially negative situation, and gives us a really good feeling that we're prepared for whatever might come our way.
Can we get the commissioner's reaction too? I mean, how do you feel about the response, especially since you can have all these plans, but an earthquake is not something we're used to in Connecticut, particularly one felt across the state like this?
Yes, certainly. So as the deputy commissioner said, the state of Connecticut and its emergency management team is well exercised. So it's been seamless since day one for me, and today has been no exception. Everything is in place. People are talking. Everyone knows each other by name, and we know this. This is what we do. They know this very well, so it's going very well.
Did you feel it this morning?
I did. I was sitting in my office on Country Club Road in Middletown in a meeting, and I felt it.
Are there any areas in the state that maybe felt it more, or there's indication that it's affected more than others?
Yeah, so the obviously the earthquake occurred in northern New Jersey. So some of the areas, according to USGS, that may have felt it a little bit more were downstate Connecticut, down in Fairfield County, southwestern Connecticut. But this spanned all the way from Maine all the way to DC in terms of where they felt this.
Now, what makes Connecticut different compared to like out in the West? Is Connecticut feel like earthquakes more, or like is it spread out when there's like a smaller one? Just describe it.
Yeah, so that's a good point. We obviously have different soil and different ground in New England than they do, out in California. So that can certainly have an effect. Some people felt it in one area, whereas a couple towns over, they didn't feel it. And that could have just been strictly one is on a rocky soil with a lot of ledge versus other areas are on more of an area with just more soil, more texturized soil. So just different perspectives. New England, that agriculture in New England certainly plays some kind of effect in that. But not something that's totally uncommon here. We certainly have seen these kind of events, even as close by as 10 years ago. So.
Thank you, everybody.
We've been following breaking news. That was a news briefing on earthquake response from the Connecticut emergency management officials, monitoring the aftermath of the 4.8 magnitude earthquake that struck with the epicenter, White House Station, New Jersey, at 10:23 this morning, about 50 miles west of New York City, but felt here in just about all of Connecticut. Per the deputy commissioner from whom we just heard, that's Brenda Bergeron, and this is really the headline from that brief news conference. There are no reports of significant damage here in our state as they continue to inspect bridges and whatnot, but no reports of significant damage. We also heard, though, that, if you want to inspect your own home, its foundation, if you were to see some cracking or some issues, we're told that you should report that to your local municipality. Again, we'll stay on top of this breaking news. And the other key headline, I guess, no injuries reported, which is always the best news with a situation like this. Stay with NBC Connecticut as we continue to follow this breaking news. We'll bring you more details on the earthquake that rocked the state as those details come into the newsroom on air and online at NBCConnecticut.com, as well as the free NBC Connecticut app. I'm Kevin Nathan. We'll see you back here with the very latest on the earthquake and everything else going on in Connecticut today at 4.